Hello, everybody. This is Rob O'Keefe, and I'm here with my friend and college buddy, Moish Peltz. Moish is a partner at Falcon Report in Berkman, based in New York City, but he does nationwide consultations, which we'll talk about in the new world of work that we're in. Moish is a graduate, like I said, of Union College, where I went to college, and a graduate of UF Law, and he specializes in IP and intellectual property and also business transactions. So I think this is really cool just to have an attorney like this on the call during this quarantine time. It's a really good thing, like Moish will tell you, just to look at some of this stuff. And yeah, why don't you take it away and just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what your process is.
All right, Rob. Thank you for the kind introduction. And yeah, we met back at Union College, and it's been it's great to be able to catch up with you now. And thanks for having me on.
Welcome.
And yeah, I'm been doing intellectual property law since I came out of law school, focusing on trademark prosecution, litigation, and then working with these businesses for helping their other business needs. I'm a partner at the law firm Falcon Report in Berkman, where we're a full service business law firm, and I'm the IP guru that fits into that whole firm approach. So yeah.
That's so cool. And so IP means like intellectual property, right?
Yeah, so intellectual property, you think of, I really focus on the trademark side. I do some copyright work as well. There's also the big one is patent work, which I don't do, but I work with people who do. And then we have things like trade secrets and all sorts. Intellectual property is a big catch-all, but there's lots of other things that come in there. But really what it boils down to is, if I'm a business, and how am I protecting my ideas, my thoughts, my things that I'm building and growing as part of my business? Is there a way that we can find some either informal or formal way to protect those ideas as they're commercialized, so that when I go out to the market with those ideas, when I try and commercialize them, when I try and make money off them, someone doesn't rip me off, someone doesn't steal my idea. If there's a way that I can protect and secure that idea, someone would come to me and we brainstorm their business and how they're using IP and how other businesses in their field are using IP, and think about ways they can get from point A to point B.
Yeah. And so there's a lot there. So, and it's like, how would you know how to do this unless like you hired someone like yourself? Like, how can you know, like, if you're like truly protected, like you could be doing all this work, just like going, like a lot of entrepreneurs, like I was listening on this podcast, are all about like the vision and then just like the day-to-day like execution of that vision and everything that like, gets in between. So like, it's really good for like people just to be looking at this stuff, just so they're not building everything for naught, right?
That's exactly right. And what I'll see a lot is someone, thinks they can do a trademark on their own. Because look, at the end of the day, it's a form on a website, and there's maybe takes you an hour to complete. So you can do it on your own, but filling out a form on a government website and just going on your merry way isn't going to link that trademark to your business, and it's not going to create a strategy for how you're using that trademark within your business and how you're going to grow that brand down the road. So that's something that I think it's worth for pretty much any side business to speak to an intellectual property attorney before they go on that journey, and think about, strategically, how am I building my brand and what are the legal options I have to go through that, and to have that conversation early, because nothing's worse than someone comes down the road, hey, I have a problem. And then you look at it and say, well, you kind of did something wrong, and we kind of have to go back to point A to fix it. Which does happen. If you don't do it right, you may not be building the rights that you think you're building. But if you have that conversation early, and it should be a helpful conversation, and relative to the time investment you're going to be having in your business, it shouldn't be a very expensive conversation. It should be kind of setting up your future and building a game plan that you can go out and execute and work on your business, and that part's taken care of by someone that has experience and has seen both the benefits and pitfalls of different ways of doing it.
Yeah, no question. So like, just like when you're going through that, I'm just thinking like, what if like you built everything, and just spent all the time building it, just building the structure of everything, but then you have to go back to square one inevitably
Yeah,
maybe someone would have that trademark and maybe you can't trademark or protect what you're building.
yeah, exactly. Or even worse, you get sued, or and you have to change your brand name or pay a financial penalty, or there's all sorts of like really bad outcomes that could have been averted with like a 10-minute phone call to a trademark attorney. Um, which isn't to say it's easy. In a lot of cases, it's not, and there's a lot of gray areas and difficult. But that's where you want someone that has experience to kind of orient you in that process and point out what the risks are, and then you can at least weigh those risks and decide going forward, as opposed to being surprised when something happens down the road.
Right. Yeah. So you're pretty much like just a trusted advisor, like very on the process. Like you're like a resource for your clients. Just because like the way I see it, like there's no other shortcuts. Like I said, like you could just build everything or not really have like a vision of the structure. Like you could build
Yep,
everything and just not have that structure there and not be protected.
that's right. And if you do it right, I mean, it's one of those things. It's almost like an insurance policy. If you're doing everything right, you're paying for it, and you forget about it. But you're secure in having that in your back pocket. It's the same thing. If you do it right, you may never hear about it again, right? But if you do it wrong, that's kind of why you want to make sure you're being smart about it up front.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. So like how like in this new world of work we're in, and like this is how I connected to you. We connected through LinkedIn again, which is awesome. You just like cycle through and you make all these connections. Ours was from Union. Like, what's the best way to like get in touch with you and just connect with you? I know you mentioned LinkedIn and also Calendly.
Yeah, so definitely, LinkedIn. You can search for Moish Peltz. I don't think there's too many of them, and you'll find me. And I do a Calendly invite. I have a link, and then I have it on. I have a trademark application website, and so people can go to my website, trademarkmonarch.com, and you'll see my different service offerings, and you can schedule a consultation with me through Calendly. We were talking about this when we were speaking, but it automatically books an appointment when I have free time, and so I'm able to do that. And yeah, I mean, look, we have a firm of 20 something attorneys, and I think almost 35 when you throw in the staff, and we basically went fully remote work almost overnight. Um, we're lucky that we built our firm on a cloud-based you know client docket software. And so we have all of our client files, all of the information we need to continue operating as a law firm in the cloud and in a secure environment. We have VoIP phones. So in terms of other businesses and even some of my clients, in terms of the impact on this, it's we're relatively lucky that we're able to do things from home and continue operating as a business. I have clients that are gym chains, restaurants, things like that are not in a position now to continue doing business. Law is one of those businesses where we're able to keep providing a high level client service from home. So
Yeah.
in some ways I'm able to work more hours now because I don't have to worry about a commute. I don't have to worry about things like that. But I try and keep my normal structures of work hours, so I'm not up all night taking care of my clients.
And it just sounds like everything is just more efficient too. Like we were talking about before, like you don't have to have that initial conversation. Like you could say, okay, Wish is available here or Rob's available here, and we can just book them like this, and then like even just like give like a preview to what you want to talk about, so you can come prepared, and that way you're just inevitably not interrupting everybody. It's just like much more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of those things that hopefully we're through this quicker rather than later, but when we're through it, like I think some of these efficiencies are going to stick with us. I
Yes.
think there's better ways to do things. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that now. Like, I mean, even Zoom meetings, right? As opposed to taking an hour commute to meet someone for a coffee and then going back the other direction. I'm sure in the real estate industry, there's going to be a lot of changes too in terms of virtual tours and things like that. So, there's definitely a lot of downsides, and I don't want to minimize that. But I think professionals like us have to think about what the opportunities do we have, what can we do now with this time, if we have extra time, what can we do with it, how can we optimize our our marketing, our client relations, reaching out to old contacts such as yourself that we've been in contact, we've seen each other through the years, but
Yeah.
haven't really sat down and had a real conversation about what we're up to. All that's still possible with the technology we have. We just have to go out there and do it.
Yeah, and it's nice, right? And then like look at us, like we found a way to do business and reconnect. So it's really cool. It sounds like yeah, you're just like built for this. Like no one could ever see this coming, but since like you guys were proactive and like you had all these systems set up, it's like you just like pivoted, overnight, like you said, more or less. It's very impressive.
Yeah, that's the idea. We're still working through, these things.
Yeah, of course.
They're constant improvement, right? But um, definitely, in terms of client intake, is a big one where people are mailing checks and signing hard copy documents and things like that. And that's not the best way to do things now. It's still possible. We still someone going to the office to get our mail, but if we can do everything online, e-signature, credit card collecting, same thing for client engagements. We're interacting. Like I do work with the trademark office. Everything's online, so it doesn't matter that I can't. If I need to mail something, it's not. I don't need to do that anymore, right? So a lot of those systems have already been in place, but it's really putting it all together and making it a seamless experience for the client.
It's awesome. Yeah. And yeah, it's such a great opportunity right now. And like I said, just for new businesses too. Like we covered a little bit about new businesses and like getting started on the right foot. What about like businesses that have been in business? Let's say like someone that's been running a business for 4 or 5 years, and then they're like, oh, I could just be building this, and someone could take the trademark, or someone could, just encroach on them that way. Like, how do you help with those people that are like, that have been in business?
Yeah, I mean, usually it comes like there's something that happened, right? They get a cease and desist letter, demand letter, or they've been sued, or it's like, oh no, what happened, right?
Yeah,
So it would be great if more businesses were more proactive of, okay, I built my business, but I kind of did everything piecemeal and formally. Um, I would love to talk to a business owner like that and say, okay, I'll just do a checkup, right? What have you done? Is everything good? Okay, great. If I don't need to do anything, I'm not going to do anything. But if there's something that need to do, or you're taking this time now to take and building, your branding right now, it's a great time to do that. It's a great time to, think of your strategy and how you're going to improve that now, and you're going to be in a better position, months from now for doing it now. Um, Yeah. So in terms of what I would do is I would have that conversation with that business owner and think about, what have they already protected? How have they protected it? Have they done it in a formal way? Have they, actually filed a trademark? Have they actually, do they have patents? They have other intellectual property, depending on their business, copyrights, trade secrets, things like that. If they're not protecting it, then, is that something that, relative to the business that they're in, that should be protected? And I think that's a conversation that, um, I'll be pretty honest. Like, it doesn't seem like it really matters to you. It doesn't have a really serious impact on your business. So the cost benefit might not be there. But on the flip side, if it is, and, I think someone should know that. And they should get that advice and at least know, again, like be able to balance the risks and rewards versus doing certain tactics.
absolutely. It's kind of like the more you bleed in peace, the less you bleed in war type of thing. And like you said, like if you are proactive with this stuff, and this is a great time to be looking at all this stuff, while the day-to-day business life shows down, like why not? You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
take a look at this and just protect yourself and make sure you're good. Because like you said, like the worst thing, most people just act when they get that cease and desist later, like years on, and then what do you do?
right. And usually there's things you can do between now and then to get back on a better path, and hopefully avoid those types of outcomes. And so the sooner is better than later. And it's just it's kind of like emergency doctors don't really see, see it until it comes into the room, right? Something bad happened, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's like a triage, right? um, you're able to kind of sit down and think it through a little bit better, and you're doing it more proactively versus reactively.
It's so true. Yeah, just not regrets this, but just so many other aspects of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Said it. So I think we covered everything, like new businesses, like existing businesses like myself. Like, is there anything else you'd like to add or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there's the one thing that I did want to talk about is just there are lots of benefits to getting a federal trademark registration that people don't really think about. It's like, well, it just costs a lot, or I can do it on my own. But I don't think people are thinking about why they're doing it. And for a lot of businesses, it's really there's several reasons. I'll just quickly touch on them. Is one, you actually have a tangible formal asset of the business that has value, and that when you look at a business balance sheet, the assets of the business, it's going to show up there. So that's what one thing a registered trademark gets you. It gets you national protection. So if you're just doing business in New Jersey or New York, um, and you're developing common law rights, because trademarks, you do get common law rights. That means if you use it, you're building rights in it. I think something people don't always know. But when you get the federal registration, that gives you presumptive national rights in that mark, assuming no one else predates your use. And then what it's going to do is for subsequent users of a similar name, it's going to give them presumptive knowledge. If I'm Rob and I have a federal trademark registration, everyone that starts using a similar name after you was presumed to have done a trademark search and should have known that there was a similar mark out there. And so that's one of those benefits that it's going to protect you going forward and hopefully avert any potential situation where someone's trying to steal your brand and you're going to have to write a cease and desist letter to them, right? Because that's one of the things that we do is the enforcement side, right? So I have a brand, everything's great, and then all of a sudden all my customers are telling me, hey, are you that company that's across town that's calling them the same names as you? Is that you guys? And now you have customers that are confused and don't know what they're doing, and that's the situation where we'll get involved and send out a cease and desist letter typically. So it helps avert that situation, because hopefully someone knows when they do a search, oh, you have a trademark, I shouldn't use your trademark, right? And then lastly, depending on the business, is the international implications. A lot of people don't think about that, but if you're looking to expand, or you're looking at developing your manufacturing products, you're having a distribution chain outside of the U.S., which a lot of people do. Oftentimes, there's a lot of benefits to doing international registration. So that's something that we have a network of trademark attorneys who work with around the world that would help you make sure your supply chain is protected, and you're not getting people stealing your goods, selling it through different gray market kind of things. And then lastly is the enforcement part, which we touched on.
Yeah, I think there's just like so much value in that, not just like by creating this stuff, but like continually enforcing it, and just like you're protecting your empire, if you will.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, and there's so much value in that, just from like a time perspective, just to give that to you guys and professionals that know what they're doing and keeping up with the law, because inevitably the laws change, right? You need an attorney just to keep up with the law and study the law.
Yeah, and especially right now, right? Between like the USPTO has had all these different alerts in terms of timing of coronavirus related issues, like people are missing deadlines because they're not able to get to their office, things like that. And then just everything that's going on, like with the SBA programs and the PPP, like all those programs are changing basically hour by hour. And so I know, I'm part of our firm's COVID-19 task force, and I'm working to help on those parts of it. And if you're not tuned into what's going on, things are changing so rapidly that it's really tough to keep track of it. Especially if you're running a business and you have a million other things to be doing.
Yes.
It's great that we have the resources to be able to kind of bring people up to speed or catch them up really quickly, because we have an army of people working on those things.
That's awesome. And just like the continual enforcement of the time. Have you ever heard the story about Spikeball on Shark Tank?
I know it's Spikeball. Yeah, what's the story?
You played it. Like, yeah, I love that game. Great game. Play at the beach and pretty much anywhere. Yeah, it's the one where you hit it, and it's like the trampoline. You hit onto the small trampoline. Basically, the guy played that years ago, right, as a kid, and him and his buddies were like talking about it like years later, and they went on the patent website and looked into the patent for it. The guy that invented it let the patent expire, so he went back with his friends and basically renewed the patent and just like started mass producing it and selling it, and the rest is history.
That's great.
Yeah. And so like you just like I guess the moral of the story is like you can let these go, or if you don't know what you're doing, like life just gets in the way and you just forget about them, or you never did it the right way in the first place.
That's definitely right. And I think the flip side of that is right now people that have extra time on their hands, or something unfortunate happened where they lost their job, or and they're not sure what's going to happen next. Now is the time for them to start building that empire, right? Putting the pieces together, figuring out what the next steps are, and then piece by piece, month by month, year by year, they're going to build something that's going to have lifelong value. And those kinds of decisions are going to happen now. And I'm working with people that are going through that process, and would be happy to strategize with someone else that's looking to either start, grow, build, renew, whatever it is, right? I think now is there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world. I think there's also a lot of opportunity for people that are lucky to have their health and be home and to
Really,
have the time and energy to work on these things.
absolutely. There's just so much opportunity, with the bad comes opportunity, and it just sounds
Yeah,
like
and look,
a
we we
very
we,
good
we
person.
graduated from college in 2008, right? Into the largest market crash in our lifetimes, and now we know a lot of people that for the past 10 years, 12 years, whatever, lose track of time, have become successful and have built something, and it doesn't happen overnight, but year time horizon. So, you know, thinking today, projecting 10 years forward, there's a lot of, people could build a lot of good things, and might be a,
Yeah.
I think people that have the commitment to see it through for the long term there's going to be businesses started now that are going to have a lot of opportunity.
Oh yeah. I think like our generation is unique. Like I was reading an article in the paper. Like first we went through 2008 when we graduated, things were just starting to get better on the up and up, and now this. But I
Yep.
think like our generation, like we could be business leaders and just like build for this, just to set people up in the intelligent way, and just with the right systems and strategies, and just to really take the bull by the horns here and just be leaders for everybody.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was awesome. Really good stuff here. I'm going to have some Moish's contact information below in the link, and in the post link, I should say. And I guess that's it over here. You guys stay well and healthy as
Thank you
always.
so much, Rob, for having me on, and really appreciate the
Yeah, this is
opportunity to speak
awesome.
with you
Yeah,
and catch up.
really good stuff. Good seeing you, buddy, as always. And take care, everyone.